This is the naked truth about real estate investing. Your host, Javier, has already been through all the brain damage of this business, so you don't have to go through it. That way, you're not exposed to all of the risk of losing your shirt or getting caught with your pants down. So let's dive into another no BS episode right now.
All right, it can be very time consuming. It can be very scary. It could be like trying to get somewhere without a roadmap, right? So that's why I created this due diligence list when I buy a property, when I buy an apartment building, even a mobile home park. You can use it for, mostly pretty much any commercial property. But this one specifically is for a multifamily. It could be a 6-unit. It could be a 600-unit. You can use it, for what you like. So go ahead and sign up, put your name, email. I'll send you the free link to my due diligence. This is what I've used to buy, hundreds and hundreds of units, if not, thousands of units. So sign up, you get my link. You get an Excel sheet as well. And also we use the software, project management software, monday.com. Feel free to sign up for a free trial. I do have an affiliate link. You don't pay any extra, right? they just pay me a small fee. Don't have to use it. You have the Excel spreadsheet, but if you use monday.com, it's actually a lot better, a lot smoother, a lot prettier, and you can do a whole bunch of other stuff. There's even a video there I created in the link. So check the link, sign up, and this is my giveaway for you guys. Thank you so much. Take care.
Hello, everybody. This is Javier, your host of The Naked Truth About Real Estate Investing. And today I have Ron Walraven. He is out of Troy. He's out of Troy, Michigan, and he actually does all the southeast of Michigan, which includes Detroit. And I got a few special questions for him. He's been around real estate since the late 90s. Got a pretty cool story. He started as a mechanic, and he kind of, from what I understand, he was like on commission. He was a mechanic on commission, where you have to you get paid by the jobs. You got to finish the job and you get paid. And he did very, very well. He actually, I'm assuming he flipped some cars. I know that, and
sure.
Wholesale some cars, right? So that's kind of, you can wholesale anything. And he hurt he had a back injury. He had to he couldn't go back to work, and he started, wanted to do real estate, and he took some courses and started. You took some courses from TV, I'm assuming, right? Because you're watching TV all the time.
Well, back in those days, it was Dave Delgado with tapes and books. So it was a while back. Tapes
and books. You got started, and you got your real estate license, and you worked for a brokerage firm that did a lot of REOs in the 90s and all the way up to close to 2018. And that's when you started wholesaling. So you have over 4,000 transactions, which is amazing, right? And as far as wholesale and in real estate in general. And there's a few things I want to ask. You've been through 99, 2008, and kind of 2020, right? I mean, the housing market didn't really crash, but the stock market took a big dip. So those three kind of years, 99, 2000, 2008, 2009, and 2020, the stock market, and you kind of been through like three big major, financial crisis. So I definitely want to hit on that.
Okay.
So without further time, me sitting here chatting away, nobody wants to hear me. They want to hear you, Ron. So let's first talk about your business that you do right now. So right now you wholesale. I know you keep some of the properties, and some you go ahead and wholesale. You flip a few, you keep a few, but you primarily wholesale.
Yes, we're a high volume wholesaler in southeastern Michigan. Been doing it full time since 2012-ish. 13 kind of got my legs underneath me, and then 14 and 15 I partnered up with a guy who was a whole lot better at marketing than me, and we started doing all the things that the big wholesalers do. Joined a couple masterminds to get my head straight, but I've always been a macro manager. I'm always a visionary kind of guy, so I've learned to put people around me that kind of make things happen. I'm a deal maker. I like to negotiate with sellers or anybody, whether it's the buyer or the seller. It doesn't really matter to me. I like that part of the business, and it's been good to us. I've built two teams through the years, one REO team back in the mid 2000s, and the wholesale team that we currently have had a couple partners along the way, and both those relationships subsided for different reasons. But I love doing real estate. As you mentioned, I was an auto mechanic for many years. A bad day of real estating is better than any good day of fixing a car. I do not like fixing cars anymore. I don't even fix my own cars, especially if I have to lay on my back. I take it to the car dealer. And I usually go to car dealers too. I don't usually take it to the local guy because I used to work in car dealers. So I know what the difference is between the mom and pop shops and the dealers.
Sure. So let me hit back. You said you built 2 teams. So the REO team, let me know what did that consist of? And then you have a wholesale team. So what does that consist of?
Well, in the REO days, you were more of a property manager than a retail agent, which when I got my license kind of lended itself to my personality a little bit mostly. And then the brokerage that I joined after I got my license was doing REOs. So the broker had given me an account to work, and it was called AmeriQuest Mortgage in those days, which is a defunct B and C lender, meaning they lend money to investors and bruised credit people mostly. And that started imploding in Detroit. So there was lots of REOs. So I got that 1 account to 2 accounts to 3 accounts. They would hand us assignments, is what they call those. In Michigan, we have redemption. So you have to watch that property for a while. So there's a little bit different of a process in Michigan in regards to that assignment. But that team consisted of a BPO person, broker price opinion person, a bookkeeper, 2 buyer's agents, a full-time processor for listings, and a full-time processor for closings. In the heat of all of that, we were closing 35 to 40 a month in those REO days and had 200 to 300 listings at any given time for about 3 or 4 years before it really kind of just tanked in 07 and 08. So that was a hugely beneficial education for me in regards to learning how to do deals and how to manage people, kind of hover over top of them, which is really my talent. I'm a good team boss in a sense, meaning I can manage those people. At the end of that in 07, I was kind of first to the virtual world. I had sent all those people home and had computers resident in the office at the real estate office I was working at, and they would log into their computers through GoToMyPC, which is like archaic technology compared to today. But I had 5 computers sitting there.
I remember that.
Yes. And they call it GoToMeetings now because it's more of a kind of a Zoom product now.
Yep.
But anyway, I had them logging in so that they were using my equipment from their house. And I had one of them come to work every other day just to come in to take care of paperwork. Because then the scanning and all that stuff wasn't as prevalent in storage like it is now. So we still had to keep files in a sense. But at the end of that, most of those people all worked from home, just like we kind of do now. So I was kind of I'm not going to say a predecessor to that, but I took advantage of that technology way back. But of course, the world started imploding. The Midwest was where the REOs were in the mid 2000s. And then when the East Coast and the West Coast started, their notice of defaults actually started coming out as REOs. That's when things just changed. And then, of course, we all know about the short sale cycle in 08 and 09. So I decided that I wasn't less necessarily a short sale retail kind of guy. So I just started investing in wholesaling like we do today. So that team dwindled from 9 people to 4 people, then down to 2. And I had a closing processor work for me for about 12 months after that. And in that meantime, I actually had gone to Phoenix and to Washington, D.C. trying to flip houses, trying to survive because of the Midwest. It was just imploding. And there was a lot more people vying for the REO business at that point because everybody wanted to jump into it.
So REO is basically like a bank going home, right? The bank taking back the home.
That's correct.
Yep.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I learned how to do BPOs on paper. That's how long I've been around. In other words, we took photos with a real camera, dropped them off at Walgreens to get developed, and then glue stick them to pieces of paper with a title, and then put it in an overnight package along with the document. A CMA or a BPO is nothing but a 2-page document that gives the comps and a narrative of the value. And I would overnight those to the banks from 02 to 04. And then digital cameras started coming around, and then, there's some online platforms that are still available today that we would upload the photos to and do the BPO online. So it all kind of changed. And when that technology changed like that, it just brought more people in to do that work. So it just kind of dwindled and got more competitive. And the banks started narrowing our scope, because I would work 5 or 6 counties around here, because I had a full-time contractor at the time too that did all the inspections and locked them up and managed the clean outs and all of that stuff. That all just went away because they restricted us to 10 to 15 miles from our office. So a lot of guys went and got multiple offices. I just didn't do that. So the REO just dried up in my case. And that's when I went into doing the wholesaling and the flipping side of things.
So you already had a good list of buyers by then.
Yes, right.
Your wholesale deals.
Yeah, because by that time I had sold 3,500 REOs. Yeah. By that point. So I had a good solid buyers list. Now, interestingly enough, the real players in that time, they all lost their shirt, and some of them didn't come back. In other words, by the time it kind of come back out, they were gone or doing other things. Or even one of the biggest REO brokers in my area that was doing twice the business I was doing, he just got out of the REO business and just started buying rentals. Because houses were so cheap, he could not buy them. It was just like candy in a store for him. And he just recently, like in the last 6-8 months, dumped like 400 houses that he had purchased. He let them all go because the market's at the top, right? That's where it is. So he just dumped them all, took his money off the table, and now he lives in Florida from Michigan. So.
Oh, that's not a bad change for sure.
No, for sure.
Yeah, a lot of folks. Yeah, there was. It's almost summertime. It's late.
Yes.
And some guys from Ohio flying in to this conference we had, and they're like, "We had 6 inches of snow." I'm like, "What?" It's like a week from April. Right. I mean, a week from May. How do you have snow over there? Jeez. So yeah, for sure. Hey, look. So I want to hit back a little bit, circle back around to 99, 2008, and 2020, right? So. It's a little bit different each time. It's 99, 2008 was definitely real estate related. 2020 was not, but the market did change. There's a lot of people panicking. What kind of similarities did you see? Just more in the fact of the way people are acting, right? Investors and just what are the similarities? What kind of came to pass or maybe what did not? What's your opinion?
Well, in 99 in the Detroit area, things were just starting to crank up. In other words, the Midwest and mostly Michigan, we don't have that transient type people. In other words, if they go anywhere, they go to Florida when they're 65, or they go north when they're in their working years, right? So there's not a lot of influx of people. Nobody moves to Michigan to move here. Nobody picks up and moves from Colorado to come to Michigan because that's what they want to do. It's because of family or, some maybe opportunity. Everybody in Michigan tends to go to Florida when they retire, because even most of us think of it as Arizona as just too hot generally. And California is very crowded. It's smoky, it's a lot of smog because we build cars in Michigan. So most of them go to Florida. So what I noticed was that, we didn't have the run up as quick, but we had the drop off the cliff fast in 07 and 08. What I remember as an REO agent is in Michigan, the governor put a moratorium on foreclosures late It was mid 08. I'm going to say it was like around August of 08. And I remember saying to my staff, I walked over to the drawer and counted the assignments we had. And I said, if she doesn't lift that moratorium, we're going to be out of business September of 09. If nothing else gets foreclosed or goes to the sheriff's sale, any of that kind of stuff, we'll be out of business in September of 09 by the amount of files we had to rotate out, right? That's exactly what happened. In September of 09, we had maybe 10, 12 houses for sale. Nothing's coming in, right? Because we were selling 40 a month. All I had to do is the math. Yep. If I sell 40 and nothing's coming in, it only takes so long before there's nothing to sell. So I didn't necessarily want to switch, like I had mentioned before, into short sales, because that's what it became. Because I'm not a retail agent. I don't like going around on the weekends with you and your wife looking at houses. That's not what I do.
That sounds like fun,
just,
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and on the holidays,
I don't want
everybody else is having a good time,
yes.
You know?
I don't want to try to negotiate because the room's green instead of it's just painted, right? That's just not what I do. And even on this day, I don't like working for buyers, meaning I don't even like working with investors. I'm a listing agent. I'm a guy looking for product. I'll feed you the product. You do what you want. That's what I do. So in 07 and 08, when it just fell off, it really was like a harsh reality quick for us. And for most of the country, for sure, because the banks just, it was literally like one day to the next that a lot of guys that I knew in those days that were investors, their loans just literally shut down from one day to the next, had closings canceled because they weren't funding all of a sudden for all those reasons. And then everybody just started hunkering down. The banks hunkered down. So it took till about late 11, early 12 for it to kind of come back. And then it was rising slowly again. And then, of course, it was kind of skipping. It was doing pretty good, 14, 15, 16. And then come along, the market just was stabilized. And it wasn't rising quickly, but just kind of was okay. And then, of course, COVID hits, right? In Michigan, they shut us down. Like a lot of states got shut down. We were shut down from April 23rd till, I take that back, March 23rd till May 17th. Real estate was done. It was over. Nobody's doing anything. They won't let you in a house because the masking and all that stuff that we kind of do today wasn't even a prevalent thing then, right? So it basically just took the inventory that I had and just stagnated it. And I also had some lenders call me, say, we're not loaning any money anymore. So here's what we're going to do. So I had 12 houses in inventory pre-COVID. I hunkered down. I couldn't get any money to buy anything else. I revamped everything into strictly full-blown wholesale because generally we would buy them, clean them out, and sell them, as opposed to doing a true wholesale by assigning that contract. We revamped to do that virtually, and then then just decided that we're not buying anything because we can't take that chance. So I dumped those 12 properties and lost money on 10 of those 12 because the market was just done for that period of 9-10 weeks. Nothing could happen. I went and got virtual tours, what they call Matterport tours, which is kind of like a Google walkthrough, like when you walk down the street in the car. It's the same thing. So I did that for everything I had in inventory just to give some reality to what that house was. And I would let people in. If the brokers called me and said, hey, can I get in? I would let them in because my houses were vacant. COVID wasn't living in my houses. But a lot of them wouldn't even do that because if their broker found out about it, they'd be in trouble. So the online MLS stuff just dried up. Now we all know what's happening today. Like nobody could have predicted that what's happening now was going to happen. Not any minute of any day was anybody that smart.
Yeah, it's insane right now. Like, you got some houses going for like $250,000 house, getting $30,000, $40,000 above asking price.
Right.
Insane.
Yeah. Now in that mastermind that you and I belong to together, there was a guy at Burns, I think's his last name, did a presentation about a year ago. Well, it was right after COVID. So it actually would have been the June meeting. when he's talking about what he thinks is going to happen with the market. And he called it the term called the dead cat bounce. That's what he called it, right? So right now the cat's about to hit the ground. What's he going to do? In my opinion, I think he was still half alive and pushed up with his feet, because it's like, I've been doing this 21 years. I have never seen the market as hot as it is today. And who knows how long it's going to last, and what it's actually going to look like when it falls off that cliff again.
Well, there's still a moratorium on foreclosures, right?
Yes.
And there's a lot of people that didn't pay their mortgage.
Right.
So at some point, something's got to give. I figured, hey, there's two different options, right? Nobody wants strangers going through their house because of COVID, right? So that's number one. Maybe that's a problem. I don't know. People aren't selling just because maybe they're making less money. They can't afford to go anywhere else. I'm just not sure. I mean, I wish I had a crystal ball and I would have known that.
Right.
But at some point, some foreclosures are going to come along, and that's going to slow down a little bit. But heck, I thought the world was ending last year, and I'm the glass is half full kind of guy.
Well, this is how I see it. As an investor, we just need to take what the market gives us, right? We can kind of predict it a little bit, but you just need to be able to take it, what it's doing, and not figure it out so much as to try to manipulate it. You just need to take it, right? We can buy houses in up and down markets and still make money. That's what we do. It's just being smart about it, and kind of maybe, not so much look at the past, or look at the past to understand instead of forecasting what you can do. So you're not hanging on to houses too long that you thought maybe you could do this or do that, and then something changes. You just need to get out if something changes, which is kind of where I was at. I can look back now and say I should have held on to those 12 houses.
Sure.
Made those payments, and then sold them when things were going crazy like they are now. But of course, there's no way that we would have thought that was going to happen, because the majority of the guys on my buyers list stopped buying.
Yeah.
In March and April and May. Now they all wish that they had kept buying, because now they would make a ton of money. So, but none of us that had any clue thought that this was what was going to happen. None of us.
So with that said, right now there's a lot of competition, right? Like you said, when 2008, 2009, you started, there was a lot of competition for you. So even now, right, there's such a scarcity of homes. I'm just kind of hearing around like, hey, it's like if folks are having a little bit harder time grabbing some deals. I know you had direct mail, you had cold calling, texting, some TV commercials. You can do Facebook ads, you can do Google ads. So what would you say, just like in this time right now, that it's a challenge to get, at the same time, there's probably a whole bunch of folks that kind of dropped off last year. They maybe started real estate, but they were just brand new and they just kind of dropped off a little bit. But what would you say right now as far as like competition? What do you think about that?
Well, I have a term for those guys now. They're called blind squirrels. Blind
squirrels? That's funny.
Because they get nuts, right? The blind squirrels get nuts too. So, but you know what? There's not as many nuts hanging around for the guys like us who are volume, right? So we're digging for deals with spending a lot of money to do that, where these blind squirrels, they're just throwing out a few texts, because you can text pretty cheaply these days.
Yeah.
But the expensive part of texting is getting the list and skip tracing. That's the expensive part, not the process of the software that gets those leads. And of course, the flavor of the day is texting. There's a lot of it going on, because you get a lot of what I call angry birds that kick back at you and say, stop that, right? Yeah. It's a lot harsher with a text than it is with a direct mail card, where they call you and yell and scream at you to take them off your list. Because when you're invading their phone, that's a lot more intrusive into their life than a silly postcard, right? So more to the answer to your question is, yes, there's a lot more wholesalers that think they know what they're doing. So what I tried to engage with those guys about 6-8 months ago is, bring me your deals. You don't have a list that buys houses. You think you have a list. You need to go dig for deals and bring those to me. Let me work those, and I'll throw 25% back at you. So you do all the marketing. You bring those to me. I'll make the appointment. I'll warm them up. I'll close it and send you money. All you got to do is bring me deals. That's what you're looking to do anyway. And 20 out of 20 is you're not going to close them. usually, because you don't have the buyer, you don't know how to even market it. And then when you do get that, you get the other blind squirrel looking for a rehab, he doesn't know he doesn't have any money. He says he does, but he doesn't. And you told your seller that you're a cash buyer and you're really not. You're a contract seller. The whole circle in there is just bad.
So key,
bring it to
if you're a new wholesaler, you got to make sure you got yourself a good buyer like Ron, that can either buy it or assign it to somebody else to a bigger list, at least until you can get on your feet.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, I can usually smell those guys that are good, because they call me, right? Hey, Ron, because they call me as a wholesaler trying to wholesale me a deal.
Yeah.
But I can smell with them when they're talking, and then I can kind of quiz them, like a little bit, like to see how serious they really are, where they got their information from, meaning where they're training in a sense. Did they just get it flat off of YouTube, or did they spend a bunch of money for somebody? And then kind of turn them into some bird dogs. Say, look, you ran into one of the better wholesalers in town. Good for you. Let's see how we can work together, because you're going to be my competition with deals if I don't help you out. So I'd rather draw you in, help you to be a good wholesaler so that you and I work together instead of against each other.
That's a great strategy. I have a buddy here locally. He flips 100 plus properties. And that's the majority of the way he gets most of his deals. It's just, a brand new wholesaler that you just find it's like you find like a deal just because they send one postcard and he just happens to be lucky where the owner grabs that postcard and calls him.
Right.
Probably 10 of yours in that stack of 50.
Right.
Only one of theirs and they just got a deal.
Right.
So he caters to those guys all the time, and he gets first look a lot. I mean, a lot of the time he gets first look.
And he
flips 100.
He probably pays a little. Yeah, he probably pays a little less too, because that guy's happy just to make.
Yeah, exactly. I got this contract. What do I do now? Right? They can't even sleep at night. So he'll make some pretty good money. And when I used to wholesale, he used to buy a lot of my stuff. But that's just his strategy, right? And it works well. Yeah. It works well for him. So that's awesome. That's awesome. All right, Ron, we're going to transition a little bit to in a couple of minutes. I have a roulette. I have a naked truth roulette, which I'm going to do 4 random questions. But before I do that, just kind of give me some advice, or maybe something like the worst transaction you've done, or just in general, right? Like something you wish you would have done a little bit different.
I think some advice to anybody who wants to get into it is just be humble. Don't think you know everything. Don't flash your check on the Facebook page if you get your first deal. Just be humble and look for the guys that will help you. A lot of guys reach out that are looking for mentors, right? I hold licenses for about 35 local real estate investors that don't want to do retail business. I won't even let them do retail business.
Yep.
So I reach out to them and give them some advice and say, look, you need some advice, to call me. That's because I charge them a minimal fee that basically covers my E&O and just some time, right? Because I have staff that kind of manages that too. So I just charge them just enough to pay my expenses, because I want them calling me for deals. So when you do that, meaning you newer investors, when you call that guy that has got a lot of business and a lot of experience, is ask questions of adding value to him instead of taking me for coffee and sucking all the info out of me.
For sure.
I stopped going to coffee. Especially when we got Zoom, right? Yeah. Let's just get on a Zoom call. I don't have to go anywhere, and I can drink the coffee from my desk. Right. And then
it's probably one of the biggest things, right? At the same time, you want to help people, but we've all spent a lot of time away from our family building this business, and it's kind of hard to go hang out with somebody 4 times a week, 5 times, 6 times a week for coffee, and you got your family at home, Yeah,
so. And I was thinking through, like, what has been a biggest failure or a failure that I could probably have overcome. I think that there's been a few wholesale deals where I was just more emotional than I should have been about it. And I had one house that I went into COVID with, and I made a deal with a local guy. If he sells it for X above, the number that he thinks he can sell it for, he would give me half of the extra. In other words, if he sold it and made the 20, and that's all he sold it for $350, but he sold it for $380, So now he made 50, he'd give me half of that extra. You know what I mean? I lost $62,000 on that house thinking that I could recoup that. And then he didn't end up, even though the market saved him or gave him some extra money, he still spent too much on the rehab.
Yeah.
So it was a house that he miscalculated also. And I ended up with an extra 10 out of the deal. So, my net loss was 50 instead of 60.
Yeah.
So, and of course I looked back at that, that COVID loss for me was close to 200K.
Wow.
So what I'm thankful for is that I have the resources to handle that and to still keep moving forward. That's what I'm thankful for. That's how I look at it. How can I be thankful? How can I learn from what happened to not do it again and just keep pushing forward with some honesty and some integrity,
Awesome.
at the end of the day.
I appreciate that, Ron. I really appreciate it. All right. So we're going to transition over to the roulette. And
Okay.
I'm going to share my screen.
All right.
Here we go. All right. So we are here. I will give you one pass if you need a pass. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, a lifeline. Let's go. Let's see what comes up today. Let's see. All right. If you had the world's attention for 30 seconds, what would you say?
I would say be a critical thinker. Our world is very much guiding us on what we should do. I won't give my opinion of COVID or anything that's going on. I'm just saying, think for yourself and make your own decisions.
All right. So that's one thing that I've tried to do with my kids. I don't know if I've done a great job. Maybe I'll ask them when they get older.
Yes.
But try to teach them how to think, not what to think. So, and sometimes it backfires on me.
Yes.
Yeah, it'll backfire. All right, question number 2. All right, let's see here. Hi, do you have any tattoos?
No, sir, I do not.
No tattoos. All right.
No tattoos.
You and I are in the same boat. And
I would consider my body the temple of the Holy Spirit, and doing something like that is there's certainly thoughts differently, but I would choose not to do that.
Sure. I don't have any tattoos. That's rare for us guys in our early 30s, Very rare.
Yeah.
All right. This is where don't you mind waiting at? Sometimes a lot of folks who are like, you're like a visionary, you seem pretty calm, but at the same time, we're a little impatient sometimes. So where are you not impatient at, or you don't mind waiting?
Well, when I'm sitting at it or not mind waiting.
Yep.
I don't know. I'll pass on that one. Let's pass on that one.
Okay. Last question. Let's see what we got. All right. So if you could be a hero or a villain for a day, what would you pick?
Oh, well, that's funny. I don't know. I'd like to be Iron Man for a day.
Oh, how about
fly
that?
Fly around with a steel suit and not die.
That'd be fun, right? That'd be super fun. You gotta make a ride on that. I know they have a ride, but like a cooler ride.
Yes.
Right. Well, I appreciate it, Ron. You've been a good sport, and you got some pretty soft questions, which I'm glad, because I kind of know your personality. So I'm actually glad that you got some decent questions for you. So I thank you again for your time.
Okay.
We talked about starting as a car mechanic, did some REOs, and you switched over to wholesaling. You've done over 4,000 transactions. We talked a little bit about the market in 99, 09 and 2020, which is great. And I really appreciate, your time, you coming out. And you also talked about, how to get some more deals when it's complicated right now. Just network with the newer wholesalers, right? That you can guide them along to make them a better wholesaler. And maybe they bring you deals and they give you a first look as well. So I really appreciate that. You have, I know you have a Facebook page, a Facebook profile, social media. I'll put that in the links. Is there anything, I'm not sure if you have anything that you, like a coaching program, which I don't think you do, but I just want to ask.
No.
Okay. Or anything like that you'd like to let me know?
Not really. I mean, if you put my cell phone number in there, I don't mind.
Okay.
Texting me and asking me about deals is good for me. I realize that your audience is very broad and not Michigan based, but most of the guys in Michigan know to contact me is to text me first.
Yeah. So anybody out there gets a deal in Michigan, even if you're in Tennessee and you don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, for sure.
Call Ron. Definitely call
Absolutely.
Ron. He'll help you out. You guys make some money together. It's nothing more than starting the relationship by making some money. Everybody's happy.
Yeah. Yes, for sure.
So thank you. Again, This is Javier, your host from The Naked Truth, and don't lose your shirt.
All right.
Awesome, Ron.
All right, dude.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
You're invited to leave an honest written review and share this episode with a friend. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.